Welcome back to History Unveiled. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jordan. In our previous episodes, we explored the rise of American Zionist lobbying and the complexities of dissenting voices. Today, we're shifting our focus across the Atlantic to examine the dynamics of lobbying for Israel in post-war Britain.
Let's begin with the mid-1920s, when architect Austen St Barbe Harrison was tasked with designing a new residence for the British High Commissioner in Palestine. This palace was meant to symbolize British imperial aspirations. How do you think architecture can reflect political power?
Absolutely. Harrison's design aimed to merge local styles with European influences, embodying the British imperial ethos. One reviewer even called it a crusader castle for today. What does this say about the British view of their role in Palestine?
It suggests a deep-rooted belief in their redeeming mission. They saw themselves as modern crusaders. How might this perspective have influenced British policies toward both Palestinians and Jews during that era?
On May 14, 1948, Sir Alan Cunningham, the last High Commissioner, signed the termination of the Palestine Mandate. He described the situation as melancholic, reflecting on his inability to mediate effectively. What do you think this reveals about the challenges of colonial governance?
It highlights the complexities and often tragic outcomes of colonial rule. Cunningham felt helpless amidst rising tensions. Is there a parallel to be drawn with contemporary interventions in conflict zones?
Interestingly, Ernest Bevin, Britain's foreign secretary, was initially opposed to a Jewish state. He favored a British-controlled federation. Yet, after the 1948 war, he became a key lobbyist for Israel. How do you interpret this dramatic shift in his stance?
It's a classic case of pragmatism over principle. Bevin recognized the reality on the ground and shifted to support Israel to prevent it from aligning with the Eastern Bloc during the Cold War. How does this reflect the often transactional nature of international politics?
By the end of 1946, British policy had shifted dramatically. Initially, they aimed to maintain control, but escalating violence and economic pressures led them to abandon Palestine. How does this evolution illustrate the impact of grassroots movements?
It shows how public sentiment and activism can force governments to reconsider their positions. The intensification of Jewish resistance against British rule was a significant factor. How can today's movements learn from these historical dynamics?
Despite the changes in policy, Britain didn't openly support a new Jewish state. They were engaged in secret negotiations between the Jewish Agency and Emir Abdallah of Transjordan to divide Palestine. What does this secrecy say about the nature of political negotiations?
It underscores the often murky waters of diplomacy, where public statements can differ vastly from behind-the-scenes actions. It raises questions about transparency in modern governments. How important is it for citizens to be aware of their government's true intentions?
As Britain transitioned out of its role in Palestine, it created a vacuum that contributed to the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. This raises significant ethical questions about colonial legacies. How should we address these historical injustices today?
It's crucial to confront these legacies head-on, acknowledging the past while working toward a more equitable future. As we reflect on this history, how can we ensure that the voices of those affected by these decisions are heard in contemporary discussions?
Today, we've explored the complexities of British lobbying for Israel and the shifting dynamics of power during a tumultuous period. The evolution of figures like Bevin illustrates how political realities can reshape ideologies. What lessons can we take from this to inform our understanding of current geopolitical issues?
It's essential to recognize that history is not just a series of events, but a tapestry of interconnected stories and decisions. As we reflect on these dynamics, how can we foster a more inclusive dialogue in our own advocacy efforts?
Thank you for joining us. We hope this discussion has provided valuable insights into the complexities of British policy in post-war Palestine and its lasting implications. Let's continue to reflect on how these historical dynamics shape our understanding of advocacy today.
See you next time on History Unveiled. We'll be back with more stories that shape our world.